This is called the International Spy Museum. It is a museum about the intelligence community and the history of intelligence around the world. So CIA, you have all of the clandestine military operations we do, special operations, SOCOM, and then you have all of the different intelligence like Mossad and Israeli, intelligence and Chinese intelligence, Pakistani, and all these different, German, Russian, you name it, all the intelligence stuff you see in the movies. Okay, these are the things that you can go in and see. Now, when you go in there, they tell you in plain sight what they do. So that's the reason why we went there, to just kind of show you exhibits, show you what they have out there. Now, here's something you guys need to read. Okay, as soon as you go into this International Spy Museum, you will see this sign, and this sign reads, "All is not what it seems." All right, so some of you guys that aren't 100% yet on the things that you hear right now, because you feel like it just seems a little bit too much like conspiracy theory. Let me just show you a little bit of the facts and the evidence that's right there in DC on display for anybody to see. Here you go. All right. All is not what it seems. Okay, I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. There's the world you see in the world you don't. The stories you know and the stories you think you know. Enter a or live by their wits, a hidden world of ingenious tools, secret techniques of covert missions within influence battles, sway governments, and change lives, where the greatest victories are those that remain undetected. Now, this is just their intro. Pull back the curtain, test your spouse skills, explore the maze of mirrors, deception, and intrigue. Now, here you go. They are very, 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 very out in the open that there is what they want you to hear, there's what they want you to find when you investigate, and then there's what they want you to believe actually happened. These guys do everything they do in multiple layers. So everything the government does, Trump and even Biden, everything that major corporations do as well. I found out in this spy museum, Mom, that even major corporations that work with the government all have intelligence departments, and they work on the same lines. Just here, they spy on their competitors, they spy on everything. So here we go. So, oh man, this is from the Bible Museum, the Vatican Museums. Well, I guess this is going to show both. So, the Spy Museum and the Bible Museum, I guess, are in the same place.
Yeah, we don't want to show both, do we?
Well, it's here. Well, this is from the Bible Museum. I don't know how I got in here. Well, let's see if I can skip through that.
There you go.
All right, here we go. All right. All right, here you go. Check this out. Look at this. In the 19th century, okay, we're talking about 1800s, guys. In the early 1900s, in the First World War and in World War II, they were using a microdot. This is how the community, you see this? This is how the intelligence community would communicate with one another. Okay? We're talking about putting it as a contact lens on your eye, or just hiding this deep in a pocket, or hiding it in your body anywhere. There was a little, basically like a computer chip called a microdot, where it would hold basically 130 or so different characters. Like, a Facebook post or a Twitter post, you only have so many characters. A microdot is what the spies use to communicate intelligence. They would take a little tiny, the size of a pencil eraser, a little tiny microscope, and zoom in on this microchip, and they could read a spy intelligence message of 130 characters. It is smaller than a dime. Yeah, this is stuff, like you said, fallen angels. This is stuff that intelligence got way before you and I learned about this as normal people, okay? We're talking about 100 years ago, back when there was no CIA. It was called SOS, okay? The intelligence that they used is ridiculous. This was way back then. It says, look, it started as a Victorian era novelty. It later became a sensational spy tool. It's the amazing microdot. English photographer John B. Dancer first unveiled the marvelous 19th century parlor trick. This tiny negative holds 755 letters of text from a marble tablet at St. Mary's Church in the English town of Kirkby Lonsdale. So yes, you guys that believe the Vatican has a bunch of, spy stuff, it's absolutely true. It was in the spy museum. The Vatican spy, the Jesuits and things like that. A lot of them, they invented a lot of these amazing spy technologies. We're talking about 1852, guys. Okay? Yeah, tracking chips and the $100 bills. That stuff, listen, people think it's all conspiracy, guys. You can go right now to DC and places and you can learn about all this. This is some of the technology they use to make the micro dot. Okay? So you can, agents in the field and their safe houses could go in and read the dots. I want you guys to see, if you can zoom in, this little tiny dot right here. Wait, you'll see a little tiny, the size of a pencil eraser. Wait till you zoom in. It's really small. I don't know if you can see that. That's about as close as I can zoom in right here. This is the little magnifying glass that an agent would have in their tools to zoom in on an intelligence message. Okay? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Now we have Twitter and everything, and it's all out there. We have encrypted messages now digitally, okay? But this is stuff I wanted you to see. This was the world's first microdot where we got microchip, okay? So that's what spies have been using for a long time. Here's some of the things that governments will do, and they do it to the citizens, they do it to other governments. This right here is an American, presidential seal that they would give to like the Chinese embassy or to the Pakistani embassies. They would put these in a foreign government embassies, foreign government president. This is how they spy on people. This here is a nice wooden carbon seal, but underneath the beak of this eagle right here, they had a listening device that would spy on the ambassadors. Right there underneath the beak of the eagle. So the little tricks that they do, this stuff is not just in the movies, guys. This stuff is real. And here's all the devices they would use, for, to spy on people, to bug a room, to actually listen in on the audio. Okay? Just want to make sure you guys see little stuff like this. Now, here's a very interesting thing. A Russian submarine, okay, this is back in the middle of the Cold War, a Russian submarine sank to the bottom of the ocean. Well, the CIA was tasked by the president to go get this submarine, and it was 3 miles deep in the water. So they had Howard Hughes build a ship, a wealthy man. You see, they use the wealthy people, guys. They used Howard Hughes to build a large ship. So they had to create a cover story that they were just going out and, a cover story with all kinds. I'm going to get into the details, guys. You look this up. All right. Here is Glomar Explorers. Everybody on there had complete cover stories. People wore wigs. People had out uniforms and everything. Here was Howard Hughes had a big explorer where they were going to go explore ancient artifacts in the ocean. Well, but secretly they had a large thing under there where they put a rope with a claw, and they actually grabbed the screen and lit it up 3 miles in the water.
Wow.
And the submarine broke when it got a few miles up and happened. But they got a third of the submarine and brought it into the ship's bowels, and then they brought it back undercover and nobody knew about it. But it goes to show you a few things. Number one, CIA is doing things like this, and you would completely think it's 100% legit business. But I want you guys to see this letter from the president that's released now. This is public information now. All right. It's interesting how the president at this time had a cabinet meeting, and here's the memo, the whole manuscript. So they said, hey, the episode has been a major American accomplishment. It's a whole marvel. He's telling the president said, I agree. Where do we go? And then he said, well, if we don't want to confirm the mission details, we could just give the public the bare facts. Now, it has been confirmed, and this is a conversation with the president and his, cabinet. They're like, well, if we do this, we'll do that. If we do this, then the public will think this, you see? And then the president says, well, Bill, then the other guy says, who would put it out? Who's going to release this to the public?
Yeah.
And then the other guy says, well, probably me, or rather than him. They're deciding which department's going to release it. And then the president, Bill, what do you think? So you can see that these conversations really happen. How do we let it out? Now, misinformation is how they do it. Here it is. There's the big release. They take a reporter, give him the news, and then it comes out in the report. CIA uses Howard Hughes ship to lift a Russian sub. But I want you guys to see evidence that this is really what happens. Secret things happen, guys. That's the nature of business, of our government. That's the nature of the world. And they control how it gets released. Now, how do they release it? Look, right now, this is a thing there that they talk about the East. Right to every phone call, every message.
I saw that. 12.
They have quantum computers with algorithms that know how you'll respond if they word it a certain way. They know how they'll respond. Also, they have everybody divided up. They know how every subgroup of the culture will respond to news. Now what they do is release it in misinformation in multiple releases so that every subgroup will hear it in the way they need to hear it. It's just how it is.
That is something.
But look at this. Wars begin in the minds of men. The speed up. Here's in plain sight. Do y'all remember the Trojan horse? The Trojan horse was hiding in plain sight. They made it look like they retreated. They burned all their ships and their tents, and they hid 30 men inside the Trojan horse.
Yeah.
And then they went in, and they actually, Troy believed it. They brought them in, they partied, and then in the middle of the night, all the soldiers got out and let in all the army. The army that they thought had left, but they were still there. That's called deception. That's Sun Tzu. War is deception. Now, I'm going to have to do this some other time because we're running out of battery. Now, mind control. You see this here? Oh, man, I lost it.
What battery?
Man, that was just about mind control right there that I was talking about. But my battery in my laptop's down to 10%. It's not working.
Oh.
No, neither one of them are working.
All right, well, let's get to the last one.
Anyways, guys, I got so much to share with you, but I just want you guys to see some legit things right there. Look, mind control. The CIA hired magicians to teach their agents. They hired magicians to teach their agents to use sleight of mind to do mind control. And then you guys know the Manchurian Project in culture. They tested hallucinogens such as LSD. All this stuff is on display there, guys. They really did this stuff. The one thing they didn't have on display was fallen angels and UFOs and things like that. That stuff is not in here for open display.
Wow.
In the Vietnam War, they put out tens of thousands of radios, and the radios actually had a fake radio station where everyone thought it was actually the Viet Cong talking to them. It was actually America deceiving them and giving them false radio. Anyways, they deceived them. and all these radios, and they actually built these radios to give false radio stations when everyone thought it was actually the normal radio stations. That's called fake news. All right, I'm going to skip through all this.
Power through propaganda, boy, that'd preach.
Operation Cyclone, they talk about how they sent in all the CIA to arm and train all the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. They trained them many, many years to hold off Russians' army. So Russia got held off because the CIA was working with the Afghanis and teaching Osama bin Laden and all of his army to fight off the Russians. And then it all backfired because then they just went back to them and said they made it look like they were fighting against us. But really, the CIA let you know that they were working with all them the whole time and made it look like they were terrorists coming against America.
Wow.
And then we went back and started a big war fighting the same Mujahideen that we trained. Osama bin Laden.
I remember that.
So
Yeah.
that's how wars go on covertly in the background, guys.
Yeah.
My laptop's going to die right now. Guys,
Oh,
we're going to have to get off here. I got
we'll
a lot more show.
go live on our phone.
Yeah, we'll make it work, guys. We're going to have to get back on here because right now it's not going to allow us to continue going on here, guys. But we'll see y'all in a little bit, okay?